theme today is going to be one that I think we've talked about the last couple times, but it's keep calm and carry on. It's very easy. Nancy and I talk all the time about the markets and headline risk. We're watching daily releases like retail sales came out this morning, big number, great number, but it's obviously there's all the subtext about markets, worried, the consumer worried, going out and buying stuff ahead of the tariffs. And if you look at a lot of the narrative you're hearing, it's nothing but nonstop tariff. I think probably no one, Nancy, would probably think that they would want to talk about tariffs, including us, to this degree. But
No, and what an unnecessary mess. I just, I think, well, keep going, Arthur. I'm going to jump in, but I'm feeling pretty snarky today.
well, I think that what we talk about all the time when we're talking about how to invest for our clients and what to do with portfolios and strategies is trying to filter out what we call headline risk, the sensational stuff, the things that you read in tabloids. So trying to get to what's really happening, what does it mean for investments, looking out not a day or 3 days or a week, and trying to time the market. It's really like, what are good quality companies, what's the right duration to set for a portfolio if you're looking out and making good, smart, reasoned investment decisions. And when you have things like the president's done with tariffs, and I'm going to try to summarize what he's done. So he says we're going to do this tariff initiative. He's been talking about it. He did the steel in Mexico, steel aluminum in
Right.
Mexico and Canada, right, early, and he's been bashing on China, which I get it. But then he comes in with this really weird methodology for trying to address what he considers U.S. being taken advantage of. And I'm not saying the U.S. hasn't been taken advantage by some people and some countries over time, but you don't understand what's going on. So people freak out and the markets freak out because they don't understand. And the messaging is not very clear as to how did we get here? What's the point? Where's the end goal? I.e., what's the plan? And then all of a sudden markets melt down and the president comes out and says, well, anybody that said they wanted to negotiate with us, we're going to pause it for 90 days. And that's like 90 countries or something like that. It's some huge number. So it's like huge punitive tariffs. You don't know where the numbers come from. People are trying to dissect it. Then all of a sudden they're exempt. And, the most extreme example I thought was pretty funny was Apple loads up 6 planes, and I wrote it down. They did 600 tons, which is 1.2 million pounds of iPhones. And that's probably about 2.5 million phones on a plane to try to get it to the US so that it doesn't get hit
Before.
with all the punitive tariffs in China. Like, that's what's going on here. People and businesses are panicking. They don't know what to do. And it makes everything else harder.
And then we get the Fed, and the Fed opens his mouth again. But I want to just say one thing. I had an old English Mastiff once, and they're pretty slow, pretty big. He was a big one on top of being a big dog already. And the little dogs used to take advantage of him. They'd sneak in between his legs and get his treat, or, take. And then one day he would just sit on him and it would stop, you know? And so this whole notion that the US is being taken, and poor United States, I mean, yeah, it's true, but we sort of have a history of pushing through that stuff. But instead, now what we've got are the sort of vagary, the tariff vagaries that change every day. So not only can investors not make a decision, that's one thing, but the companies can't make a decision. So we're seeing a fall off in capex. We're seeing companies M&A activity freezing up. Nobody's going to step in front of this train, and I don't really want to know what Cantor Fitzgerald is doing, but I'm pretty sure they're short the market and long bonds, and that's not good because their former CEO, whose children are now at the firm, is in the administration. If we hate it on one side of the aisle, we should hate it on the other side. And so I think it's time for the grown-ups to step in and say, okay, what is the point? Because do you yet know what the point of the tariffs is?
I mean, I know what he said. The point of the tariffs are to rebalance it and try to re onshore manufacturing in the United States. That is sometimes a little bit easier to say than do. It's not easy to build
We
manufacturing.
can't fill all the manufacturing jobs we have now.
Right.
So is it national security? Because that was the NVIDIA announcement today on the chips. You have to presume it was
Yeah.
national security. Is it national security? Is it increased revenues so we can give tax cuts? I mean,
I,
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
they know.
And I think
Anyway,
that's the problem. It's one of the problems is the messaging has been really bad.
yeah,
Not a lot of clarity, and then changing positions sometimes radically overnight.
yeah,
And so, I know that I'm looking at the market trying to figure out what's driving it today. Today I think it was the illustrious Chairman Powell coming out and basically telling the market, "Hey, we don't know what's going on either." I mean, he's just surprised. It's not. I mean, and that's not a surprise that the Fed's on hold because they don't know what to do. They're like, "Are you going to put the tariffs in? Are they going to be bigly? I mean, is it Kofifi? What's going on here? How big? How punitive? Are you going to change them next week? Because you're messing with GDP. You're right, Nancy. It's not just stocks. It's company CEOs not knowing what to do, not knowing should they invest now. If the tariffs are super high and they didn't plan for it, then they're going to have to rejigger their whole business plan. I mean, everything comes to a grinding halt. Consumers all of a sudden go crazy and try to buy as much as they can. So they're looking ahead and saying, "Do I need to buy an iPhone? Do I need to buy a washer? When what's going to get hit? Where do I buy?" And looking at their products, going, "Where is this made? Is it made in Korea? Is it made in China? What
right.
do I do?"
In summary, it's distorting behavior
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
panicking people.
And so I have like some comments I want to add on Pal, but tell us what you heard him say today.
What I heard him say is that the Fed's got a dual mandate, basically price stability and basically a good economy, trying to regulate the growth of the economy, really look at the labor force. And what they do with the labor is they try to balance those two. And right now, they think the risk is much higher towards inflationary bias because of the tariffs. So they're not sure if it's a one-time hit or not, but they don't want to play games, and so they're putting any further rate cuts on hold. They said their policy is set, and that's why stocks traded off today, in my opinion. And it's not a surprise. It really
But
is not a
didn't you,
surprise.
and if you said this, forgive me, I daydreamed for a moment. Did you not tell me earlier that what he said was once we know what's going on, then we'll act? Isn't that what
No,
you
he
heard?
said once they know what's going on, then they can figure out what to do
What
or
do?
whether they need to
Okay.
do. So he didn't. He said basically Fed policy, FOMC policy is on hold for indefinitely until they can figure out what's going on. And then once they figure out what's going on, then they'll decide what the policy mix should be. They
So
don't know what's going on, just like everybody else.
you and I, we're held accountable to our decisions through our track records every day. So people can look at what we do and they can say, "Well, that was dumb," or "Well done," or whatever. But what we have here is someone who has flip flopped so many times. I found a commentary I wrote on November 3rd, 2022. So that was 2.5 years ago. And it was titled "The Savant Idiot," parentheses, "forgive me," at the exclamation point, "at the Federal Reserve." Now, I did not coin that phrase. It was coined by Joseph Epstein, who writes pretty frequently in the Wall Street Journal. And I wrote a book called Gallimaufry, which I love. It's just short essays and just right to the point and acerbic in its wit. But he defines a savant idiot as a person who is learned, brainy, brilliant even, but gets everything important wrong. And then my next comment was, enter the chairman of the Federal Reserve. And he had given the day before he had given a press conference. And I mean, I don't want to be unkind, but this is one of the most important jobs in the world. And he doesn't know what's going on. I mean, even if you don't know, don't say it. And this has been a hallmark of his entire um, time in office. But um, so initially, the market rallied in his press release, and I won't read it for very long. On the addition to the FOMC statement, seemingly dovish and consistent with those made recently by various Fed officials, quote, "The committee will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy." Remember, inflation peaked in the summer of 2022 at 9%, but we were still tightening. And so the tightening continued, the lags with which monetary policy affects economic activity and inflation. Chairman Powell then emphasized that point by stating a slowdown is coming. It may be at the next meeting or the one after that when asked about rate hikes. The market rallied further. Then he came out and said, and then I wrote, and that is where the train went off the rails. During the Q&A, he then began to contradict what he had just said, and he talked about how financial conditions had tightened quite a bit, and that the economy had slowed meaningfully, and that housing had rolled over, but he complained that the labor market was just too strong. So not a dual mandate, right? He
Yeah.
was a laser beam focused on the labor market, which was too strong. And now we've got a situation where he's saying, inflation is too high, but the average level of inflation over the last 50 or 60 years is 3%.
Yeah.
And we had 3% in the 90s, and it coexisted quite nicely with robust stock performance and productivity improvements. So I wish he would just stop talking, because he's consistently on the wrong side of the argument.
Yeah, and one of the things that worries me is, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that worry me that keep me up at night, but it's interesting that and I don't recall, I didn't hear that he actually used transitory, so maybe someone's actually hit him with a newspaper in the back of the head and said, "Hey, I don't care if you're talking about something different. Never use that word ever, ever, ever again."
But he did,
Um,
and now he retracted it
yeah,
again.
because he used it again in the last FOMC minute when he came out and did his speech, the last meeting. I mean, I remember I was watching it and I'm going, did he actually say the word transitory?
Yeah, he did.
Maybe Elon Musk could stick something in his brain, one of those brain control devices, and remove
Neuralinks.
that word from his lexicon of oh my god.
So what do you do in this environment, I guess? You want to talk a little bit about inflation and gold, and then I'm going to talk about some companies where I think you can hide.
Yeah.
And then I think we're going to talk about some optimism. So we've got, call it 15 minutes. I have to hop off, as you know, for a TV thing, but you go. Inflation and gold
Just
and
really
the dollar.
quickly, the
And
thing
the
that I'm
dollar.
watching right now is weakness in the dollar and gold hitting I think it's like a 52-week high. Gold's up around getting close to $3,400 an ounce. It took a little bit of a retraction. It fell below 3,000. It was hovering around that area, but it's popped here lately. Two reasons that I know that gold tends to rally, or commodities in particular, but gold specifically, it's fear and inflation. It's not just one. I think there's a lot of fear component to it this time, but the dollar weakness is also putting upward pressure on dollar price of gold. The good news is that for the economy is that oil prices being as low as they are makes
Right.
energy consumption much lower cost for the average American. So, but if you look at gold here, way up year to date, and again, it's like a 52-week high.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right.
I think the
Yeah. And
spot
you own
like
that in
this is the
inflation.
this is the gold trust, but I think the spot's like 334, 340, or sorry,
Yeah.
3,300 and something.
Yeah. And it was 3,000 just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just shot up 10%.
And then my
Um,
plug for your comments is this is why professional asset management I think is so important. Sticking to fundamentals, not chasing headlines or like memes, not meme stocks. I mean, what silly garbage. Stick to companies that know what they're doing. Think about the product life cycle. Think about how CEOs are investing money. This is why C-suite matters so much, and fundamental research, which is your specialty.
So the team has been working on some ideas. We've been talking about not taking risk off the table, because one of the ways you make money at turning points is you add to those very risky stocks that have hurt your performance in previous months, and that's always hard to do. And let's be clear, we're not back down to the lows, so that's the good news, right? I mean, we had a really nice rally. We've sold off again, but we're still not down to previous lows. And some of the names we added, like Tesla and Nvidia, we added at levels slightly below this. So I think that's important to keep in mind. It's a 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back on some days, but it isn't a straight up trajectory. It's a zigzag. And so you have to believe that the world is going to end if you feel like you got to sell all your stocks. And I don't feel that way at all. I'm not happy, nor are you, with the way the policy is being handled. But I mean, it's a basic tenet of every leadership position. You manage expectations, and whether this is purposeful or not, it's just dumb. So if this is the art of the deal, I would just offer up to the administration that this isn't, a real estate deal in Midtown Manhattan, where you can club each other over the head. This is the global economy. But anyway, so I do think there's places to make money, or at least to hide. So we're dividend growth investors in our large cap equity strategies, and so we're seeing a lot of opportunities there. We just added to TJ Maxx, which is raised the dividend 13% recently, is going to continue to raise it until the payout hits something like 30%, and then they're going to start buying back more shares. So either way, the shareholder return is going to be compelling, best in class, and a place where people spend discretionary dollars in a weak economy because they can get more for less. So that's one. And then we like you mentioned energy, and today I'm wearing the brown platforms, and we do like some of those names. So we bought Williams not too very long ago. Natural gas pipeline, natural gas is back in favor, so that's a good place we think to also hide out. And then we bought Accenture. So it got hit, was down about 25%. We did the research, the team did, I didn't. We stepped in and added a position. And it's a more defensive, you think of it like historically, they were a short cycle discretionary budget provider, consulting provider. Now, because of the transitions to AI, they're long cycle and they have a significant portion of tech budgets. So we like that name, pays a dividend, it's growing the dividend. So we still like it very much. And to be clear, we didn't buy in January, we bought in about a week ago. So that chart shows that it's down pretty significantly. But I think the most optimistic, we're going to show a few videos here pretty quickly. And I think we will show yours first, Arthur, which is the miracle of robotics and what it can do, how it's going to change the way we live. So you told me about this morning. I just thought it was fascinating. So this is the tile, right? The
The tile leg machine.
Yeah.
And this gets back to our discussion about microchips. And we always talk about or you hear the headlines talk about the ones that are built these huge data centers and AI. And then you see stuff like this, which uses a lot of microchips, but they're not as high end. And you just think about how much this improves efficiency. And in this case, just laying down industrial tile in like office buildings or houses. And this
So
thing's
cool.
putting down the grout and it doesn't make a mistake. I mean, when you have to put the little plastic things in to keep the tiles separate, and this thing's doing all of it. You just program it. Say, here's the room, here's the tile. You load it up and go.
It's so cool. Now, I mean, certainly there's still craftsmen. Like I just moved to my new house, and the bathroom tile is pretty ornate, and it took the guy about a week to lay it all. It's not that big of a bathroom, but there's still going to be demand for that. So high quality providers. But if you're building an office building, wow, how does that improve margins?
Well,
Pretty
think about it.
amazing,
You're also kicking if you're deporting a lot of the labor that was traditionally doing these types of roles.
right?
The hit becomes a lot less. So it's a labor multiplier is what it is. It's like a force
Yeah.
multiplier.
It's awesome. And
Yeah.
then my video is, I've talked about it before, but this is, as you know, my home healthcare plan. Because you raise those children and you just
Get
can't count
closer
on
to mine too, Nancy.
them. So if you watch, this is Optimus. This is Tesla's robot, and there's the title. It's Generation 2. So this is a year old, a year and a half old. So he's got new hands, and I saw him at We Robot Day where they introduced the Cybercab. Kind of an awkward gait, but I've seen people with worse gaits. So he's moving pretty good, pretty human like. Not crazy about those shoes. But watch, it gets better. He's working out.
It's funny because we prompted this discussion is Samsung's come out with this new little home robot called Bali, which they actually talked about, I guess, several years ago, but they actually are going to actually release it in a production so you can buy one.
He's making my breakfast.
And I don't think it's that. I mean, I've looked at the videos and stuff of what it's supposed to do, and I still think it's kind of a gimmicky. Whereas Optimus is not a gimmick. And it's just like home automation. It's the smart home that they're just kind of adding on incrementally. But the interesting thing is, it was tied into Google AI. So Google AI, this thing, and I don't like these things. It supposedly drives around your house and analyzes, it follows you like a dog and analyzes all your patterns, and then checks out what's in your fridge and tells you to order it, and then upcharges you.
Well, and the thing is about this particular robot is that he can run now. He can also catch himself if he stumbles. There's also she's, I guess you could say. They fold clothes pretty effectively, kind of slow, but not slower than my son, for example. And they can, make beds, stuff that I would be very happy not to have to do. So, the targeted price is somewhere around $30,000. And you and I have talked about how surprised we would be if most homes didn't have one
Yeah.
in the next 5 years. So I
But you
think
just
these
think about
are, go
the
ahead.
efficiency of trying to I was out with my friend Sam last night, and closing up a restaurant. People there had to be there at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock after the restaurant closes. They're putting chairs up, they're mopping floors, or the crews to come in early in the morning. This thing comes out of the closet at 2 in the morning, puts all the chairs up, mops the floor. I mean, cleans the kitchen. I mean, it's not like these little Roomba things, which just vacuum. And most of those things, I don't think work well. They get caught on the carpet, they bang into the chairs, they can't get off the
Odd
spots.
cases, yeah,
Optimus, I'll bet you when that thing's done, it can fold your.
yeah.
I don't care if it's folding my clothes at 2 in the morning.
No, I think this is so if you look forward to this technology, and I didn't talk about the special case of NVIDIA, but what we got today was the president banned the H20 chips, which are the older chips that they've been using that the Biden administration allowed to go to China. And so now what they've done effectively is handed over the AI solutions in China to Huawei. And I think that's the balance that we're not striking. Like, I get national security. I have a son, as you know, that's a Navy pilot. I want a strong defense and security, but there's also, this drives innovation when we have, we can export the older chips and then use the profits. I think what NVIDIA said is they took a charge of, I think, $5 billion
Yep.
in the quarter. I've been in client meetings all day, so I don't have the number specifically. And the old chips are about 12% of the total exports to China, which were now are only about 13% of revenues. So there's reasons that we can give our old technology away or sell our old technology. We've always done that. This just, I don't even get the point of this, except that it roiled the stock market and it was already having a hard time. And then, the savant idiot began speaking, and there we were. So
Well, this gets
this
back to
too
the
shall
this
pass.
conversation, Nancy, is that we don't know what they're doing. They're not telegraphing it well. They're changing their minds all the time, and it makes like you talk about. Now we're talking about fundamentals, and it's distorting markets. It's changing behavior. It's
Yeah.
reducing capex.
Yep.
Yep.
So will this be the case in 3 years? No, our investing time horizon is, 3 to 5 years. So we're looking for opportunities to pick up the very best of the best with the management teams, as you pointed out, in the C-suite that can navigate these things and fill up airplanes and bring over the iPhones and avoid the tariffs. And there'll be workarounds to all this stuff, which is why it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Why bother with it? So anyway. That was supposed to be an optimistic note, but we
Well,
still
we
think,
actually we are optimistic, but at money managers, I think we're always looking at our last bad trade, not ones that we're always worried about things not working.
yeah,
We're always thinking
yeah.
about the pot that's hot.
But we're still young in a secular bull market. We're 2 years in. The average usually lasts about 4 to 5 years. So there's always corrections within bull markets. So hang in there. As we always say, don't look at your statements. Don't
Yeah.
get nervous. We're doing it for you, which is why we're a little cranky from time to time. But I appreciate you, Arthur, so much, making me laugh and sharing the tile robot. That was super cool.
Yeah, it's that or shearing sheep videos. That's the only stuff I watch. I'm like, oh, there's a robot printing a house. That's really cool. Which, by the way, they do. I don't know
Yeah,
if
they
you
do.
show that, but they have these huge arms that have concrete, and they literally basically have an extruder, and they print house
Yeah,
foundations. So
3D
cool
printing.
stuff.
Very
Cool
cool.
stuff.
All right. Well, good to see you. Well,
You
thank you
too.
all for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, everybody.